Agenda 7F, discussion regarding the interlocal agreements with Harrison County for ambulance rescue service, public library service, and animal shelter service. I know I placed this on the agenda because Lisa and I had been talking about it, but I think Lisa kind of has
I'll
put
give you
together
a summary of basically the process that we've gone through up until now. We visited with y'all. We've been talking about this off and on for, some amount of time, and basically I reached out to the departments that are impacted, their budget, operating budgets. So we had a recommendation from our library director along with our police chief regarding the level of funding that they would like for us to request. I think in your packet they provided detailed information about usership and all of that information, but to summarize, for the 2015-16 interlocal agreement for library services, the current interlocal is in the amount of $50,600. Anna Lane has recommended, and Jack has concurred, that they would like to request this year $75,000. Last year, our current year operating budget for the library is $478,684. So this would represent 15% of the operating budget of the library. For the animal shelter services, our current interlocal provides for $39,100 in funding. The police department is requesting that we increase that amount from $39,100 to $48,875. That would bring us from 26% of the current operating budget to 32%. The operating budget for the shelter currently is $144,891. Visited with fire chief. We also have an interlocal agreement that provides for ambulance and rescue service. The current amount of that interlocal is $7,675. And he is not requesting an increase in that amount. He feels that the current amount is adequate level of funding for the upcoming year. So basically, that is the staff recommendation and we just wanted to make you aware of, before we proceed, our communications with the county.
Thank you, Ms. Agnor. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Agnor?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about these a little bit. First thing, and we'll start with the library. On the library, we have the city's portion. If you look at the 2016 figures of $478, and then the county's contributing $50,000. Is that $478 is the total amount spent for the library budget for the year, or is that just the portion that the city of Marshall pays?
The $478,000 is the library budget for 2016.
That's the total, okay.
So we pick up about 428 of that.
Okay, so we are paying then, 68% of that, or, okay, we're at 420, okay. That wasn't really clear in the graphs. So essentially, we have, currently the county's been paying somewhere around, is it 10% right now of what the library's current budget is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And we're wanting to move that towards, the recommendation is at 15% there?
The recommended level of funding would put us at 15%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So essentially we'd have, we're going to, of course, take up the cost of remodeling and renovation and the building costs because it's inside of the city. And then we're asking them, and essentially from these figures, we're looking at 30% of the county basically uses the library. Is that correct? It's about a 30%, 70% use.
Provided
Okay.
reflects.
I mean, in a perfect world, I'd love to see us, them contributing 30% of what the operating cost is. However, that would be pretty substantial amount of money. So right now we're kind of taking that 30% and then we've split it in two. We're asking them for about 15% of what their actual percentage of use is. Is that pretty standard for what we've done in the past?
Last year I'm trying to think, I think these rates have been in place for 2 years, maybe just 1 year. We went many years without requesting any increase. It's only been in the past couple of years that we have requested and received an increase in the level of funding. Oh, yeah, it's reflected in one of the pages in your handout. But basically, the approach that we took here, while, yes, the requested level that has been recommended does not approach the 30%, we felt like it was something, having gone through budget struggles ourselves, you can't get where you want to be necessarily overnight. So we felt like that this would be, a reasonable request based on the dollars amount, but not, a huge, tremendous impact to ask the county to absorb in one given year. Yeah. So that was the basis for the approach that was taken.
Yeah, and it's my understanding we're just having a discussion of this before you really go mediate with the county, correct?
That's correct.
So
just to basically get an indication if y'all feel that this approach is reasonable and would like us to proceed.
We're basically looking at an increase of about $33,000 total for both of those, correct? Somewhere in there? Ballpark, yeah.
Ballpark
Yeah.
right there.
I'd like to point out that over half the dogs and cats in the animal shelter come from the county and not the city. And they're contributing what percentage to the animal shelter?
They are currently
about 30.
They're in the
26%.
26%.
Currently. If they, when we go up, if we present the 48, that would represent 32 of the current
Okay.
budget. Now, we obviously anticipate that the operating budget for the shelter will go up when the new shelter is put in place, but based on our current numbers, that's the
Okay.
percentages.
Okay. And just past history, what kind of chances do we have of getting an increase from the county? Are they usually agreeable to this, or is it just, I'm new to this, so
They agreed to an increase a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And like I said, prior to that, we didn't have a lot. Sometimes we didn't request an
Okay.
increase. So they did that. I'm not sure what the position will
Okay.
be this year.
okay.
Yeah, and I mean, essentially, with the library, it's not necessarily an essential county service. Now, we're trying to provide a free library service to our city, and that's coming out of our tax dollars. And then essentially the county is able to use that for what they've been paying towards. So the only other options you have, you go towards a some type of a payment system at the library. People inside the city versus people in the county, which probably wouldn't be something we'd want to do. But I think it's real wise that I think the numbers for what you presented, I mean, really they look very fair. If I was trying to sculpt a budget and put it together, I think the county would get a lot of bang for their buck here. And we have a great library. It's going to only get better. It's going to be brought into the 21st century. So, if they would agree at that rate, of course we'd love more inside of that. But at the same time, it's something where we're getting a little bit of help for especially where we're bringing the library and the status of it. So I would be agreeable with that for the library for sure. And then I'd like to talk about some of the other parts with animal shelter and such too, but if anyone else wants to talk about the library, we can do that.
Well, there was an article in the paper today about the county auditors, and I hope we get some money, but I'm not going to hold my hands to the fire for that. I'm hoping we get something, but from the article, they're really stressed for money themselves with their budget, so we'll just wait and see.
And I think with anything, you're going to, they're not looking at necessarily these increases, and nor have they probably been preparing for these. Maybe in the back of their mind, they're thinking they're going to happen. But, where you really present the true numbers, where the true facts are. And, you can see clearly about 30% of the use is coming from the county, and that hopefully they'll be able to contribute to that. And you ask them, hey, what do you think is fair here? What do you think is, if this isn't a good, what is fair here? What do you consider to be the best possible solution? So, when you come to the table like this, we want to work with the county the best we can. And we want to provide excellent services in the city. We want the county to be able to take advantage of those. And in retrospect, also, we want to see them provide services that we're able to use in the city or from the city. So, when you come to the table, I would love to be a part of that, but just, what are y'all able to do inside the budget? And depending on where they're at, hopefully we can at least move towards this number, even if it takes a period of years to get there. I think it would be beneficial for them and for us. So,
Would it be appropriate for there to be a committee, I guess, I know Mrs. Agnor, that's your role. Would you feel comfortable with a commissioner or two, no more than 3, obviously, kind of accompanying you or helping with those negotiations or discussions so that?
I mean, if anybody would like to go with me, my intent was to send a letter to
Okay.
the judge, along with all the county commissioners, with this, if y'all so choose, and basically, outlining the basis for the request and, making them aware, even though I'm sure they are, about our plans for the renovation at the library, which we think is going to be such an asset to all the users and to our community as a whole. And then also the anticipated plans to construct the new shelter. So that was my initial plan, but I mean, anybody's welcome to go. If you see a commissioner want to visit with them, then that would be great.
I might have one I might visit with someone in the near future. But if that's the plan, then I guess if we get further down the road and that initial letter is not accepted or something, maybe we should put together a committee to kind of help you with that. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
So, I feel good about the numbers on the library from that standpoint. And I think it's very fair, especially for potentially pretty short notice. And it's really a reflection of the costs. They're the true costs we're spending, and we're not really asking for even the portion that's being utilized. So it looks pretty good to me on that part.
That's good. Any other questions for comments, discussions before we move on?
Now, on the library, I'd like to look at the animal shelter a little bit too.
Okay.
Let's pull that up here. I'm pulling off a page. Yeah, 77 is kind of where the main bulk of this is. And essentially, we had about the county's paying maybe about 27%. Let's say they're using 54% of the shelter. Oh, I also wanted to ask something on a graph. I don't think I understood these numbers. I don't think the public may have these. Lisa, on page 78, and I wish I would have talked to you a little sooner. This ACOPU, this pickup, I guess, and this OSHC, what does that mean? And you got these numbers there. Okay. Do you know what these are, Eddie? I can hand it to you.
Outside of
That is
Harrison
outside
County.
of Harrison County.
Outside of Harrison
Outside of
County.
Harrison County. pickups.
Okay, so we're picking up outside of,
No, people are dropping off animals
Oh.
from other counties into the shelter.
okay, so they're bringing them from like Gregg maybe, or,
Not Gregg, probably Marion.
okay,
or-
so up towards Jefferson?
Right, Jefferson, something like that.
Okay, outside of county, and then what does OSHC, is that one?
Outside Harrison.
That's outside.
Okay, and then the,
ACO pickup is where the actual animal control officer goes and picks up the animal. For
Okay.
instance, if you were to call, that you had an animal and the officer goes out there and actually picks up the animal.
gotcha, okay. Now that makes good sense now. I couldn't
We'll make
delineate
sure
all
to
that.
put a key on it the next time.
Yeah, you need that for me. So, okay, and so essentially, and you put a lot of this together, didn't you, Eddie, on this?
Myself and Lieutenant Stone and Shaw.
Okay, so about, and I don't want to, I know you don't have this sitting in front of you, so.
I printed it out and I forgot it. So
Okay, I mean, essentially, they were paying about 27%, and then it looks like we're moving maybe more towards asking for 20% for this coming year. Is that correct when I put it all out?
I thought it was going up to 30.
From 39 to
39% or something.
Well, I included that salary inside of there too, because we're looking at that additional salary. Did you not include that in your numbers?
Well, this is with the current budget that we have as of today, not with the future budget.
okay.
This is with the budget that's in place right now.
Okay, so this is based not upon what we're going to be doing at the beginning of next year.
Right, we're assuming.
But we won't be doing that at the beginning of next year anyway, because if we start a build in February, we're looking at end of summer, third, fourth quarter before the potential of it being completed.
So it won't even really hit till the next budget cycle.
Exactly.
Exactly. So that's why
Okay.
we didn't take that into account.
Okay, no, that makes great sense. So, and then also inside of this letter, they're going to be made aware of what all we're wanting to do at the animal shelter.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, where we're looking at going on operating budget. So maybe that'll give them at least some forward way to look at hopefully how they can help contribute to that too. No, that makes perfect sense. So as far as these numbers are concerned.
Okay. Sounds good.
We good?
No, that's great.
Everybody good? Any more discussions for questions, comments, concerns for Lisa?
No, that's good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Agnor, and thank you, Chief Campa.